Hello, ladies and gentlemen. I'm very happy to have you here in our podcast because I want you to meet a wonderful lady, a wonderful friend. Her name is Emma Mark. She's from UK. I know Emma since 2019 when we've met in London. And we had a wonderful experience during a women shipping conference. And now we have Emma Mark here in Constanta Maritime University. She was our wonderful facilitator during HumanNet Constanta Maritime University conference on mentoring programs and gender equality plans. Emma, hello. How are you?
I'm very well, Christina. Thank you so much for that warm welcome, and thank you for having me. I've had such a lovely time here.
So Emma did a fantastic job while facilitating our conference. She introduced our guests and she ensured that all the guests join the discourse, join the speech, join the dialogue. So you were really, really amazing. But I would like to speak with you now for something else. I would like to find new things, interesting things about your coaching career. So how did you make this leap from being an executive to having this new position in your coaching?
That's a really interesting question. Like with many things in my life, it was a bit of an accident, but a very, very happy one in the end. So I've been in Maritime now for about 14 years. I started as a temp at the UK Hydrographic Office, and I finished my career as Chief Operating Officer for a maritime tech company. And I know that you know this, Christina, being a woman in maritime is incredibly difficult. It's very challenging. And I was lucky. I did have a lot of support from bosses and from colleagues, but that didn't stop it being any less challenging. I've always been very driven, and I was very, very ambitious. And I knew from probably, I don't know, like the first year that I started working in shipping, I wanted the top job. I wanted CEO. I didn't quite get it, but I wanted...
You are very ambitious.
I am. So I wanted the top job, and I wanted to be able to make a positive impact in shipping. And in my last company that I worked with, I spent a lot of time focusing on port call optimization, and I thought that that would be how I would make my contribution. I was, like I say, I was very driven, and I spent a lot of time at work, not because I was asked to, but because I wanted to. I had that determination. And
this is a feeling that I quite know.
Yeah, I know you do, considering how well you've progressed in your career. So, you know, and I think as women in male-dominated industries, we find that we want to prove ourselves and to show that we're just as good and we deserve to be here. In doing all of that, I wouldn't go as far as say neglect my family, but I put work above everything else, and it was my choice. It was 100% my choice. And I got to a point where I just couldn't do it anymore, and I'd burnt out. And so I left my job, and I genuinely felt empty. I felt like a shell, because I'd spent so many years being this person in shipping, and because it's so male-dominated, you tend to almost take on the persona of your male colleagues. And again, just to really stress, it's not because you're asked to, but that's just how you can progress.
This is how you feel. And
yeah.
I know on board vessel there are plenty of women working as officer or ranking,
yes.
And they do like double work or triple work only to be there, seen.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Inside the team, inside the crew, yeah.
I've seen that in a lot of my time in shipping, that women who are so capable and should absolutely be in those roles, they work crazy hours just to keep themselves there. And so when I left, I just didn't know who I was anymore. And it was a really sad time, because I felt that I didn't know what I was going to do next. I didn't know what I wanted to do next, and I didn't know who I was. And so my husband actually had suggested that I try coaching because I was very upset for a very long time. And so he said, well, try coaching. And I think my exact words were, I don't need that, don't be ridiculous, I'm fine, as a lot of us say. And I went into it thinking, this is useless, this is not going to work. And after the first session, I found my smile again. And after the second session, I realised that I could feel better, and I had tools and strategies put into place that I could stop negative thoughts. And by the end of my time in coaching, which I think I had like 6 sessions, I was completely different. I was a completely different person, and I realised how unhappy I'd been because I'd spent so many years chasing everything that was for the wrong reasons. I wanted the money, I wanted the job title, I wanted the glory, I wanted it all. And every time I would reach a milestone, my husband would say, is that enough yet? And I would say, no, it's not enough. And the really silly thing was, none of it made me happy. And it wasn't until I had the opportunity to have that period of being coached and having that self-reflection that I realised that this wasn't the change, the positive change that I wanted to make. This wasn't the thing that I wanted to do. And so when I completed my coaching, I thought, I know there's a lot of me's in the shipping industry. There's so many of me there that feel exactly the same. And if I can give one person the experience that I've had through coaching, that is a positive contribution. That's something that I can genuinely be proud of. And so I've spent a year training with the International Coaching Federation. I have my advanced certificate for coaching, well on the way to being accredited as well. And I've set up EJB Coaching. And it is primarily for working with women in shipping, but, you know, hopefully we'll extend out to all male-dominated industries because, you know, there's so much need for it. So that's how I got into coaching. A long-winded story.
Kudos for that. So I really congratulate you for that. This is an amazing story. This is a story from which we can learn. And we should consider our own lives, our own involvement in being a workaholic and the rest, like the family and expectations. But let me ask you, what exactly do you plan to achieve by having this coaching? Like, would you think to improve the image of women within this maritime side, like to improve their well-being, or do you have other expectations?
Again, great question. So my ultimate goal is to increase the number of women coming into shipping, particularly young women, because shipping is an amazing career. I had the best time. I loved my job. I loved all my jobs that I've had in shipping. I had so many opportunities, and I got to do things that I never would have done. And so there's so much potential out there for women, but the problem is nobody says, go and look at shipping as a career, because if you suggest it, the first thing you think of is working on a ship. And that's not the case. As you know, CRISTINA, there's so many more roles that are both onshore and offshore. So, you know, I want to encourage more women in. And as I say, my ultimate goal is to work with universities, to work with colleges, and to bring those together with shipping companies, to actively have shipping companies go to these places and say to these young ladies, and indeed young men, just, this is what's there. There's so much opportunity, and it's all yours for the taking, and you're going to have the best time. You know, come and see what we do. You know, the shipping industry is genuinely, it is suffering a diversity crisis, and it is also suffering a crisis of young blood coming into it. And this is something that we have to address. And I think that by showing women that you are welcome, we want you, your ideas, your thoughts, your intelligence, everything about you, we want in this industry, you know, and by giving them the support, either through coaching or mentoring or however we do it, it's demonstrating that you're welcome. You are absolutely welcome. You're supposed to be here. And I genuinely feel like that's, as an industry, that's what we need to show young women today. So that's my ultimate goal with it, yeah.
An amazing goal. Congratulations for that. So I really love this idea. I really love your energy. So it's quite excellent idea. But let me ask you, if you would share a piece of advice for the young generation, for young female entering the shipping sector, what would that advice be?
Don't forget who you are, because authenticity is the biggest thing that you can hang on to. Nobody can take that away from you. And if you remember who you are and stay true to who you are and your values and your beliefs, you will go much further than if you do very much as I did, pretend to be somebody else for 15 years. You know, so yeah, that would be my bit of advice to anybody coming into shipping. Don't let go of who you are, because who you are is exactly perfect, and that's what you should be taking forward.
Great advice. Thank you for this. But let me ask you whether, have you thought to a plan for coaching for ladies that work in maritime, like the first session of coaching, what would it be about?
So in terms of how I run my program, I always offer a discovery call, which is of no charge, and that's 60 minutes. And I say to my clients, this is where you get to see me, and you get to see whether you like me or not. I'm not everybody's cup of tea, I'm well aware of that. So but you get to see if you like me, and we get to talk about what it is that you want to improve on. So I'm very results driven, and I say to my clients, what is it that you want to make better in your life? What do you want your life to look like? Because that's what we do. We're going to design your life, and we'll make plans for you to get that. So I ask them to bring those questions with them, and then we talk about it in some detail. And then once we've agreed that we want to work together, then we put together a plan. And I very, very much believe, and this is before coaching, we all are very capable of anything, you know, literally anything. And it's with guidance and support and just somebody being on the sidelines to say, yeah, you can. You really, really can do this. You can do anything you like. And that is my job. So I will be your biggest supporter all the way through.
But as a coach, would you give them advice, or would you just guide them to find their own answers? Absolutely.
I don't give advice. That's not so. Mentoring, very much more in that field of giving advice, and that's such a great gift to give to somebody. But in terms of coaching, we very much feel that you need to look at your own path and your resources available, and you'll, by good questioning, you'll be able to get to your answers yourself. So yeah.
And I guess this would make ladies stronger once they find by themselves, yes, with your guidance, they find by themselves the best answers. So
absolutely, yeah. And these are things that it genuinely does change your life. It has completely changed mine. When I have problems or things that I need to look at now, I have a new set of skills that I can employ, which gives me a much more wider picture of how I want to proceed with whatever the issue is. And that's come from being coached and practicing coaching. So I think, you know, once women go through these, through some coaching, that you can take those skills on through your life. And it's really very much a ripple effect. You know, I never realised how unhappy I was. I didn't realise how much I wasn't there for my friends and my family and my son even. And I didn't realise how much that affected all of those people. And when I'd had my coaching and I'd had this lovely, amazing transformation, I was able to see firsthand really how much that had affected other people and how my better outlook, my better perspective was now affecting them in a much more positive way. So, you don't coach one person, you coach their whole family, their whole friends, because that's who it all affects.
So this is quite a multiplicative effect. So
yes.
Not just the person that is coached, but also the entire family, their friends. So I pretty believe everybody who gets into contact with that coached person. So this is quite amazing. And Emma, I have a last question for you. It's about mental well-being. We hear often that we should pay attention to our mental well-being. If you have an advice on this direction, or maybe, I don't know, maybe you should, if you can share like a simple technique related to mental well-being, what would be?
Okay, this is going to sound really simplistic, but it does work. So in my second or third coaching session that I had when I was really unhappy, I used to experience a lot of negative thoughts, and those thoughts will just cascade. So, like you would think, that person doesn't like me, or I've done this wrong, or I've done that wrong, and it just keeps coming and coming and coming. And my coach taught me a technique which is basically like your brain is a computer hard drive. And when those thoughts come in, it's just like emails. Do you want to read that email? Is it important? Does it serve you to pay attention to that negative thought, that email? No, so don't. I know it sounds really easily said than done, but try it. It does genuinely work. And with practice, like with anything, you can teach yourself to ignore or pop aside the negative thoughts that come into your brain, and to think, do I want to hear this? Is it healthy for me to think no one likes you, Emma, or you've done something wrong, Emma? Is that healthy? No, it's not. Is it true? Probably not either. So why are you doing it? I don't know. Right, don't then. I know it sounds very, very simple, but it does work. And once you have mastered that, you have the freedom to know how you can feel. Like if I said to you, right, I want you to feel happy, but I don't want you to think of anything to make you happy. You can't do it, because your thoughts dictate how you feel. So if you can master and control the negative thoughts that come into your brain, you can stop the feelings of unhappiness and negativity. It doesn't work, if you're very depressed and things like that, it doesn't work. And then absolutely seek other help, of course. But, for just general day-to-day stuff where we all beat ourselves up, try that, because it does help.
And that's why we need the help of a professional coach, just to guide us and to show us the way where our thoughts and minds and our well-being should be. So, Emma, in the end of our interview, I would invite you to tell our listeners your details, like where they can find you, if you have a website or social media, how can they reach you?
Thank you. So my website is ejbcoaching.com, you can find me on there, or you can find me on LinkedIn. My name's Emma Mark. Get in touch. I would love to hear from any of you, just to hear about your experiences and what you think of coaching. How can we change that perception? But thank you, CRISTINA, for inviting me here. I've had such a lovely time, and I really appreciate everything. Thank you so much.
And I hope you find Romania pretty lovely, and you enjoyed your stay here. Thank you very much, also.
Thank you so much. Thank you.